Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel. See, what Lewis has tried out here, I haven't even tried that yet, the whole title thing, or headline thing. I haven't even tried that yet. This is how long it's been since we last streamed. I just did not have time this week, and obviously our last game was flipping a week ago. But we're back. Things are good. Joao Felix returns. We're going to start cooking finally, hopefully. Bloody hell. But there is also a lot to discuss, which has happened while I haven't had time to stream. Manchester City being charged. The European Super League is all of a sudden back. Really? Again, do we need to do all of this again? Flip's sake. Do you know what I mean? And apparently, Lloyd's favourite player in the whole world, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, is apparently going on loan to LAFC. So we'll talk about that in more detail. And obviously, West Ham versus Chelsea tomorrow with the early kickoff at 12:30 in the afternoon. Lewis, I'll start with you. I think you're here. Oh, wait, maybe you're not here. Let me see what it says here. 2 minutes need a drink. You're not here. So I'll start with Pice, and Lewis will be back in a second. Big up Lewis, by the way. He hasn't turned up yet. But big up Lewis for the raid. Big up everyone that's joined from Lewis's stream. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Pice, I'll start with you. Fortunately, we couldn't quite get your new PC and mic to work. So you're here on your phone, but you're here nonetheless. I'm still not used to only playing a game a week. Thankfully, it stops next week for 1 week only. But still, it stops. What about you? Are you just, craving to get back into the games?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long week. I've been very busy personally. I'm looking forward to seeing Chelsea play again. Seems like it's been ages since that Fulham game. I can't lie. I don't know whether it's gone quick for you guys, but this week's gone really slow for me. I've been seeing the training pictures every single day, and it's just felt like a proper drag. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow's game. Historically, not a ground where we do very well at all. With the added factor of course, we seem to, play like we're drunk when we go to a 12:30 kickoff in the UK. But hopefully tomorrow will be a bit more positive, knowing that we've got obviously new signings. We've had a whole week on the training ground now, so there's no real excuses for me not to put in a really good performance, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, mate, I don't even disagree. I mean, Graham Potter's already won at West Ham this season when he was still in charge of Brighton. So, surely we should be able to win with Potter at West Ham as well. Lewis, thank you for joining. As always, big up everyone from your stream as well. How are you feeling? It's been a long week, really. I still can't handle this 1 game a week situation here. Like, I need my games, man.
Yeah, and from a streaming perspective, it is a drag trying to find news topics as well. It has been a very long week, but I'm happy that Chelsea's back. I'll say that. I'm happy that Chelsea's back, but that's about as far as it goes. If you want to ask me how I'm feeling about the game, I'm not looking forward to it. But that's just Chelsea in general this season. I think every time I've even got a little bit of hope for a game, within 30 minutes, I've just thought, see, why do I even put myself through this shit? It's the same stuff every week. You ask me why I'm negative, that is literally it. But yeah, I am looking forward to the game. I haven't been to the London Stadium in a while, but our record stinks there. Our 12:30 record stinks, and our away record stinks. Plus, I'm a bit concerned about the lineup.
I've got something to make you feel a little bit better about yourself. Because, yes, our record at West Ham is really bad. But our record against Fulham was really good. Yet we still didn't beat them. So now, because we don't usually win at West Ham, now we will. Because we break all the records at the moment.
So you wanted the reverse psychology.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think that's all we've got. That and the fact we can at least keep a clean sheet. I could back us to go and get a draw there. A win? I don't know, man. That depends on who Potter plays. But this is why this game is a lot about Potter for me. Like, I don't think this game could completely turn me Potter out, depending on what he does. But I could be having a lot of questions about him based on who he starts, the substitutions he makes, the improvement in how we play. Fact is, it's been another week. And there's been no midweek game to distract us or anything. I got to see Chelsea.
It's been a long week because our last game was Friday. So...
Exactly. It's been a full week. So I have to see a change in the way we play. West Ham, they've got a bit of a better recent record than us, but they're still 17th. They're 17th for a reason. We should be all over them. I can't be seeing us go there and get dominated. What?
I said we are also 9th for a reason, so,
I know, but it's like 9th to 17th. Like, can we at least look good against somebody? That would be nice.
Please, man.
For a full 92. There's even Bournemouth who were only good for the first half.
Go on, say again. Sorry?
No, I was saying like for a full 90 as well, because even against Bournemouth, we were only good the first half. They battered us in the second.
Yeah. battered might be a bit harsh, but we were certainly not as...
They did. They just had they were as bad at finishing as we are. That was the only thing that saved us.
Very true. At least we're not the only ones bad at finishing. Imagine how screwed we'd be if everyone else was good at it. Flip's sake. What we'll get into before we talk about West Ham and that whole game and who we want to pick and everything, there's a few topics which I haven't had time to cover in streams yet, actually. And we'll go in chronological order, what came out first. So first, just a little bit of a touch on it. We won't get on it for too long. Man City. Man City may or may not be in quite big trouble. Lewis, do you think they're going to be in big trouble, or is it another one of those cases where, Man City have been charged with something, and then a year later, 6 months later, they've been let off again? Or do you think that this time there could actually be a few consequences for them?
See, because they've got I think it's 101 charges on their head, something's got to stick out of that. So I think they will get caught for something, and whatever it is will probably determine the punishment. I haven't looked too deep into what they've been charged for, but a lot of it is financial legalities. Some is just small stuff like the length of the pitch, apparently. So God knows, there's such a wide range of things that they're apparently being charged for. I don't know. Also, apparently it's going to take a few years for this whole investigation to even go through. So whatever happens isn't going to impact this season. It probably won't even impact next season. But I'll be interested to see how things go and everything. Like Man City's statement, they looked very assured of themselves. They sounded confident. They sounded like they knew what they were getting into, and they knew that they hadn't done anything wrong. So I don't know. Whatever happens, happens. But it's not going to impact anything right now anyway.
No, I completely agree. It's a tough one because obviously they were charged by UEFA a couple of years ago already, and then they managed to get that thrown out by the Court of Arbitration for Sport. But interestingly, they got it thrown out because too much time had passed since the accusations until to be charged for it by then. But in the Premier League, that's not written in the statutes. There is no time limit to it. So what makes it super interesting, in my opinion, is if they had a more valid excuse, which isn't just time, why didn't they already use it for the UEFA charge? So that makes me think, because they had to go to time has expired already, you can't charge us anymore, because that's the line their lawyers went down to protect themselves from the UEFA charges. That's why I'm thinking, what are you going to come up with now? And if it's anything valid, why didn't you come up with it already? And that's making me think they could be in trouble. Just to maybe round it out a little bit, again, I haven't looked into it too deeply either, but like Lewis said, 101 charges, whatever it is, for various different things, apparently pitch length as well. But one of the things is, for example, that they get sponsorship money from companies which are dodgy companies. They have 1,000 followers on Twitter, but they pay them millions over millions over millions each year, where everyone's like, well, and the reason for that is for financial fair play. Doesn't just the amount of money your owner has doesn't really matter for financial fair play. Financial fair play goes percentage-wise in comparison to the revenue your club makes. So if you basically turn the money that your owner is just feeding into the club into officially calling it sponsorship money, even though it isn't, it's just your owner putting money in, then that allows you to spend more money within the regulations of financial fair play. But then when it obviously comes out that it wasn't actually a sponsor, it was just your owner, well, then that's illegal. There was also stuff that was talked about. Apparently, Roberto Mancini had 2 different contracts, one officially and one kind of unofficially. So strange things, very, very strange things. What's crazy about the whole thing is that we're talking about accusations from 2009 until 2018. Long time. Also, why not? So did they stop with that since 2018, did they? Because how do Man City have a bigger revenue stream than Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea? They have the second biggest revenue in world football behind Real Madrid, really? Are we really going to believe that? Come on now. Do you know what I mean? So it's just whether they can prove anything most definitively enough that there will be a fine, a charge, a point deduction, potentially a relegation, titles revoked or whatever else, who knows? It's difficult to say. But Pies, what has been your opinion of all of these ongoings? My main opinion was, my first reaction was, well, even though Pep has since then said, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. But, initially I always said, well, if we are found to have done something wrong, he will leave instantly because he's always been guaranteed that they haven't done anything wrong. So my initial reaction was, yeah, Pep Guardiola in the door ASAP. But maybe we'll have to wait another 1 or 2 years until they get officially charged. But hey, maybe Pep Guardiola is our next manager. Stop flipping Hansi Flick. I don't even understand why everyone's sucking him off. Have you seen how shit Germany are, man? but at Chelsea, it's going to be fine. Weird. But anyway, Pice, what are your thoughts on the whole Man City thing?
I don't really know, to be honest. I mean, when it first came out, I thought, wow, this is massive. But then I thought, it is Man City, man. They've got like the best lawyers in the world. I've read, I think from one of the big City news accounts that they're hiring some guy who's like, I think his name's like Lord Panic or something.
Is it Lord Percival or something?
I think he's being paid or has been paid in the past something stupid like 80 grand a day to fight like legal cases. So I don't know if he's involved or not, but I've read that, you know, City are planning to obviously defend themselves heavily, and yeah, I don't think it's going to be like a thing for a while. I feel like this will be everyone will forget about it, and then like in a year and a half it'll be like, oh look, do you remember that City case? Like, yeah, here's what's happening. So
yeah,
I don't really think too much of it, to be honest. If it was Chelsea though, I'd be worried because the Premier League will do anything to take down Chelsea, but. Yeah,
exactly. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, the English media were instantly like, "Oh, well, Chelsea will be looking at this with one eye, you know, hoping that they won't get similar charges in a few years." Well, we will not. So get in the bit.
They keep trying to spin that narrative just because we spent a lot of money. Oh, Chelsea should keep an eye out. They might be going for Chelsea next. It's only because you lot are so dumb you can't figure out the explanations we have literally said over the last month. Amortization, being debt-free. We're still selling players in the summer. Like, we've explained it numerous times. Now it's just a point where you just don't want to listen. Is what it is.
That's exactly it. They just don't want to listen at this point. But what it helps us is it leads us nicely actually into the European Super League conversation, because could the European Super League be what saves Man City? Because if the Premier League is too scared of Man City joining the Super League, maybe they will be too scared to charge them. Is that an avenue which you could see as a potential threat, Lewis? Obviously, we saw yesterday that the European Super League is back. Let me bring something up on screen, just a super, summarized thing, whatever they've come up with again now. The European Super League has announced a new proposal, 60 to 80 teams, multiple divisions, no permanent members, and a minimum of 14 games per club per season, which is a fun thing. I watched a video by Alex Goldberg about this from whatever his channel That's Not United is. I forgot. That's Football or whatever it's called. My apologies. But I agreed with most of what he was saying because...
Oh, shit.
Go on.
No, sorry. I've just seen from the tweets, from the comment section, I've just been checking. From Matt Law, he says, Aubameyang would rather stay and fight for his Chelsea place until the end of the season rather than move to LAFC on loan.
Yeah.
Proper fucking Chelsea. Let's go. Let's go. I'll put it up on the share screen for you if you haven't seen it.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'll get. Yeah. Go on.
I know. I just saw this literally now.
There you go. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang would rather stay and fight for his Chelsea place. It's very interesting because
start his ass tomorrow, bruv. Start him tomorrow.
You know it won't happen though, do you? You're like, it won't.
No, it will be fucking Havertz and Mount and everything again. Yeah. Come on, just do something different,
I have a
please.
tiny bit of hope that Mount won't start, but we'll get to that one a little bit later. But yeah, I mean, interesting. We'll get into the Aubameyang talk again later, so I'll leave it up here so we can.
No worries. No,
all good, bro. All good. But yeah. The Super League is back, and what Alex Goldberg was talking about, Goldbridge, sorry, not Goldberg. What's his first name even? That's not Alex, is it?
Alex Goldberg.
Well, no, what's Goldbridge called?
Mark Goldbridge.
Mark Goldbridge, not Alex Goldberg. My apologies. Mark Goldbridge. All these political gold people in their names. My bad. And he was basically talking about what I completely agree with. The Super League, I don't think that they permanently want to replace the Champions League. They don't really care about that. They want to permanently play on a weekend, and they just want to play everywhere on weekends. So as much as they're now telling us, we're just going to do it instead of the Champions League, are they really? Isn't their long-term plan going to be having 30 odd of these games per club per season? And then how are you going to play domestic leagues? Are you going to play them midweek? No one's going to want that. So I tweeted this yesterday. I feel less threatened by the Super League this time around because I'm like, well, number one, the Premier League got even more superior financially and, on the pitch to all the other leagues than they were already. And the Premier League owners all know what the fans think of it. So because the Premier League clubs don't need the Super League, I'm not particularly threatened by it because there's no Super League without the Premier League clubs. If the other European leagues want to do that, well, have fun. No one's going to care. And I don't think it's going to happen with any Premier League clubs, because I think what happened 2 years ago now was too big that the Premier League will let this happen, if I'm being perfectly honest. Lewis, what have been your thoughts on the Super League being back? It wasn't exactly surprising. We always knew they would be back at some point.
But
are you scared that it could happen now?
You know, when we first came back after the whole Super League and everything, didn't all the Premier League clubs have to sign something that basically stated that they would never join any version of the Super League or anything? I don't remember what it was called, but I'm sure I remember seeing that. So I just don't know if this would happen anyway. So I also think apparently one of Todd Bowley's clauses for signing Chelsea was that he would never join the Super League. And even in September, he said he's got no appeal in that at all. So I don't think it would happen. I think this is just a push from Juve, Barca, and Madrid, because their leagues are broke compared to the Premier League and they just can't keep up. And they got to hold that. Is what it is.
Did you see what came out earlier today as well? I think so the Premier League they've agreed to a sponsorship this week, and they've informed all the Premier League clubs. I think it's with Electronic Arts. It's £500 million a season now, which is double of what it previously was. So I think that's riled up some feathers as well in La Liga and everything. I saw that earlier. I think it was on Sky News, actually.
I can absolutely imagine that. By the way, if people on the way, Electronic Arts is just EA, the people that make FIFA. But yeah, so, that's a big sponsorship deal. And on top of all the already crazy TV money. But I do see your point, Lewis. I'll get to Pice in a second about this. I do see your point, Lewis. Like I say, I agree. The thing is, the one thing that could, in my opinion, change things is this 60 to 80 team situation. And we're not talking 20 anymore with 14 or whatever being guaranteed to be in it. Because if it's 60 to 80 and we're doing multiple divisions, almost like the Champions League does with Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, and I guess a fourth division, because I know it's 4 divisions that they want to do. If that so happens and the revenue stream is so big, then you're talking even the lesser Premier League clubs outside of the top 7 with Newcastle, because whether the likes of Wolves or West Ham or I don't know, Brentford, flipping Leicester, whether these guys will be able to still say no, because it's easy. It was easy for them to have a go at the top 6 to say, "Oh, what are you doing, leaving us alone?" It was easy for them to say that while they didn't stand a chance of getting in it. Now that we're talking 60 to 80 teams, there being multiple divisions, and therefore probably you can go up in those divisions and down in those divisions, opening it up to also the slightly lesser teams. Could that make it more of an enticing proposition for those slightly lesser teams? And therefore, if there's enough of a majority vote in the Premier League for it, could that change everything that was signed in the past, Lewis, do you reckon? Or do you not think that this...
Well, if the Premier League was in agreement with it.
Sorry?
So if the Premier League was in agreement with it.
Well, not the Premier League, but the majority of Premier League teams, and I think it's always majority votes, isn't it? So if, say, 11, 12 teams were like, well, we could be some of these 60 to 80 teams, so maybe we'll actually be interested. If that's what they think, and then a majority vote could change the opinion of the Premier League as a entity because multiple clubs would vote for it. I'm not sure if it's quite going to work that simply, but I'm just saying if more clubs in the league other than 6 are talked about joining, then you could have a majority of people that would join, a majority of teams that would join out of the Premier League compared to that wouldn't. And then maybe do you think that could sway things in terms of how extreme the reaction was 2 years ago? Not from the fans, but from the clubs.
I just don't see it happening. I think they've all just sworn against it. I think the only way it could happen is if the Premier League worked with it, and it would have to work in line with the Premier League, like have to be a midweek thing that just completely replaces the Champions League. Or Todd Bowley mentioned it would be something good for the summer potentially, but like as maybe a pre-season tournament. But that's the only other way I see it happening. I don't think it's going to be anything serious. I think their opportunity was in 2021, but the design that they had at the Super League was so crap, everybody was against it. Me personally, when I first heard the Super League in 2021, I wasn't completely against it. Like, I don't care about UEFA. UEFA aren't exactly loyal. They aren't exactly good for football either. They're as much of a problem. but this would be good money for the teams involved. My only issue was there was no promotion, no relegation. It was just 12 teams locked in. That's pointless. Like, that sounds terrible compared to what we already have. And that just closes everything off to the leagues below, and every domestic league suffers as a result of that. So that's pointless. But if they came in with maybe this sort of format at the start, I wouldn't have been totally against it. I wouldn't have.
That's interesting because number one, it's very honest, because a lot of people will be straight at your throat for even considering something like that.
You should have seen the comments as soon as I said, it doesn't sound too bad. Like 500 people say, no, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? Are you for this? So like, just not jumping against it. It's something new. Let me see it. The Premier League had the same energy when that first came out in the early 90s. That's going to ruin football. It's all about money and the 20 teams involved. Look at the end result now. Champions League, same energy. People don't like new things, but they shot their shot too early.
They shot their shot too early, number one, but also the way they went about it just didn't make it seem like a collective thing. I guess what the main thing that these clubs are trying to do, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juve, the three frontiers mainly of the whole thing happening, is make the football clubs be in charge of the football, rather than an outsourced organization like UEFA, which is obviously controlled by FIFA, who are both known to be incredibly corrupt. The thing that I will say about it, though, let's not pretend that Real Madrid, Juventus, Barcelona, and bloody PSG, Man City aren't corrupt. You know, like, that's the part where I'm like, yeah, okay, clubs running football, but is that going to be any better? Because UEFA are bad, but that's my thing. That's where I come in. To stop this ever happening, because I agree with Lewis, it won't happen now. I don't think we can sit here and be guaranteed that it definitely won't happen in the next 10, 15 years. But right now, I don't think it happens. But the only people that can change that from happening is the UEFA. Just fix up, start being an actually capable footballing governing body, and no one will need to or want to create this anyway. So I've always considered, even a slight hint of me, always even considered maybe all that these clubs are doing, trying to find a way to force the UEFA to actually not be dickheads anymore. Because the UEFA are dickheads. I mean, the new Champions League format is so much worse than the old format. And it's actually worse than the Super League proposal of a format of how to play. Doesn't mean that the whole thing is different, but the UEFA keep ruining things, and that's what makes everything so much more of an issue. If UEFA didn't constantly ruin things,
what's their new one? It's like a table instead of a group, and
it's like going to
you're
be
meant to play like just 7 random teams in there.
Like,
yeah,
or is it
weird.
1 of 20? It's just crazy stuff. Because people say, oh, it's more, you know, the Champions League currently has 13 games maximum, while the Super League would have 14 games minimum, which everyone's like, when are you going to play this? Sure. But if you didn't know, starting next season, I'm pretty sure it's next season, the Champions League will also have more minimum games per team, because everyone will have at least 10 games compared to where right now it's at least 6 games. You know, so obviously it's not as much as the Super League here, but obviously I don't really remember what they plan to go into, what round.
They're just filling up the midweek games.
Yeah,
because usually we play once every 2 weeks in the Champions League group stages. Now
exactly, except this season before the World Cup, because the World Cup stopped it. But yeah, no, exactly, that's it. And like I say, the UEFA just need to sort itself out, and then we're going to be fine long term. But Pies, let me get to you. By the way, appreciate the donation, Iman. Big up yourself. You probably would like me to say your surname, but I'm just not going to. It sounds like you're trying to dodge me into something, but.
No, that's a real surname. I can't.
Oh, is it? Well, then I'm sorry for slagging off your surname, basically. But I'm too hesitant. I've been caught too many times.
I don't blame you. We all have.
No, exactly that. Pies, what have been your thoughts? Super League's back. Do you think it's a threat now? Do you think it's less of a threat than it was 2 years ago? And do you agree that if just UEFA sort themselves out and don't constantly do weird things, we're going to be fine?
I think there's a lot of angles. So I think it's less of a threat than it was 2 years ago. I think the perfect time to set something new up would have been, you know, when that initial sort of, when it initially came up and we had all those riots and stuff at different grounds. I just think clubs know how their fans feel. And, you know, whatever you want to say, you know, the fans, they'll just have to sit back and accept it. You know, it's all about the money. it's just not true. I think when the fans bond together, can create something, very big, and we saw that last time. Whether or not it was just because, we hadn't been outside in a while due to COVID and all that, I don't know. But no, I generally do think people were passionately against it. I always remember that day at Chelsea. I didn't go, but I was watching it live on YouTube because there was some journalist streaming it. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, honestly, it was crazy. Never seen anything like that at Stamford Bridge. So yeah, I don't think it's much of a threat anymore. I feel like the clubs are too against it. I think we're past that stage. But yeah, I do agree with the angle that it's kind of, the La Liga and the other teams trying to get things changed from UEFA. But the thing is, for me, is like, I'm just that kind of fan where, like, even if the Champions League changed into some stupid model, for me, it's still the Champions League. I don't like something new. I believe the Champions League is historic, and I don't want to win the Super League. I want to win the Champions League because that's all I've ever known growing up, and that's a historic competition. I don't want to win a new competition. I don't want to win the Conference League, to be honest with you. So it's one of those for me where I just want to stick with the Champions League or nothing, because that's all I've ever known, and I love the competition.
Which is fair, to be honest. But like Lewis touched on earlier, that's the same that a lot of people felt then when it changed from the European Cup to the Champions League, from the UEFA Cup to the Champions League and stuff. So it's a difficult one. One other part of it that I'd mention is that at the moment, I fear a little bit that we're sliding into a situation where the Champions League at some point becomes near on irrelevant. Because if the Premier League keeps increasing in revenue, all the Premier League clubs keep getting more and more money, while the clubs from other leagues that aren't owned by some sheiks or some oligarchs or some basically nations, that outside of those clubs, then eventually, if this keeps continuing the way it is right now, they're just not going to be able to compete anymore. Even the Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona, if the Premier League money keeps going up and up and up the way it is, and these leagues can't somehow manage to follow that trend, then at some point, Bournemouth is going to have more money than Real Madrid. And then who's going to care about the Champions League if the Champions League, all it's going to be is basically which of the English teams is going to win it? Because if the other leagues don't figure out a way to make money soon, that's where it's heading. People might not like that. Obviously, Real Madrid will
Then we're already in the Super League.
That's the point. But we're in the Super League that doesn't even have the other European teams in it. Which is like, because we all still want the Champions League. We all love the Champions League for you have to be the best, not just in your own country, but in Europe. And I'm not trying to say, let's do a Super League. Not at all. What I'm trying to say is UEFA, help these other teams get their money up. I know, obviously, COVID and obviously the recession since then.
No, but there's other clubs there that can compete. Like, it's just a lot smaller. Now it could only be a Bayern, a PSG,
look at Barcelona,
Real Madrid or Barcelona, and that's it.
Barcelona are one of the biggest clubs in the world, and they have no money. None.
But they got a good squad too. Like, I'll be real. If that squad's in the Champions League, they're one of the favourites.
No, obviously, and that's totally fair. But what I'm trying to say is if it keeps going and they never get big money added to them, while in the Premier League now we have 500 million pounds from EA, plus all the billions over billions from the TV money. That means every year the gap between the Premier League teams and the other teams is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually, even a Barcelona will be like, well, we just don't have as much money as even a Leicester, even a Brentford. I'm making maybe slightly extreme examples, and I'm talking more in the time of like in 10, 15 years' time. But still, we need to UEFA basically need to help these other leagues to make more money. However they can make that happen, sell it to, I understand because the English league, everything's run in English. That makes it automatically more accessible globally. Obviously, the Spanish league, everything's in Spanish. Not that many people speak Spanish. Even if it's a very widely spoken language, it's not as widely spoken as plus a second language English is. Of course it isn't. So it's going to be a little bit more accessible, and people are going to find it easier to be super invested into it. But the fix, in my opinion, the only fix there is to stopping a Super League from ever happening is to make the other leagues earn more money. And that's not down to Chelsea. That's not down to the Premier League. That's down to UEFA and themselves. They need to help themselves make more money. Stop focusing. Juve, Barca, Real Madrid. These are the biggest teams. These are the teams that can make the biggest change in their countries. Instead of focusing on trying to figure out a Super League, focus on trying to fix your own league, making money, and then you won't need a Super League.
Juve got way more to focus on than even that.
Well, that is also a fair point. But yeah, I mean, Pice, what is your thoughts on this? Like, do you see it the same? Is it a case of we just need to make sure these other teams make a bit more money? Because if only the Premier League makes so much tenfolds more money than the others, even the big teams of the others, and even, leave Real Madrid, Barcelona, not even Juve. Juve are already done. Juve already don't have enough money to compete in Europe. Let's be honest, man. So you're going to have what? Real Madrid, maybe Barcelona and PSG, and everybody else is not going to have enough money in Europe to compete for the Champions League anyway. So at that point, it's just an English competition. And we don't want that either. Like, we want to keep the Champions League, but we don't want to ruin the Champions League, do we, Pies?
Is it not a bit overstated, though? Because I feel like Real Madrid, PSG, Bayern can compete every single season for the Champions League. Like, I only really think this is affecting Barca and Juventus, probably money-wise. And even Barca have got a great squad. Like, they're doing great things right now. So, like, I find it hard to believe some of these clubs, are as in the mud as they say they are. Especially someone like Real Madrid. I mean, come on, like, nah. I think this is all some sort of ploy just to I don't know, but it doesn't add up to me personally. Maybe Juventus, but the others, I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, while I see what you're saying, at the end of the day, if the revenue, obviously Real Madrid are probably the one main example. I'm like, you're going to be fine regardless. Obviously PSG, because they have a rich owner, they're going to be, it doesn't really matter to them as much. But also, they're, as the financial gap between the leagues keeps increasing, the pull of these other clubs, even if your name is Real Madrid, if your historic wins, is going to be bigger. If the league becomes so non-relevant compared to the Premier League, at some point the big players won't be going there. And if that, like, again, I'm not talking about right now, you're absolutely spot on, Pies. Of course they can still compete, and in the next 5 years they will all still be able to compete. But if it keeps going, and every year every Premier League team makes 100 million more than every other team, then if you do that for 10 years, that's $1 billion more. No matter how big your name is, you're not going to compensate $1 billion, making $1 billion less than the others. It's a fact. Do you know what I mean? Bayern Munich is a tough one because Bayern Munich don't have as much money as people make it out to be. Bayern Munich made like 1 or 2 big signings and then they do nothing. The fact that they lost Lewandowski and didn't replace him shows you enough. They can't even afford another striker. Bayern do not have a lot of money. They literally can't even afford to replace Lewandowski. And they're playing with Choupo-Moting up top as their main starting striker. Think about that. And then tell me Bayern will always have enough money. They already don't. Like, it's already an issue. But Tuchel Ban with the super chat, appreciate it very much. He says that's a poor excuse. No one complained when La Liga was making Galactico signings low. Serie A was the best league in the world. World football. It's their fault. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Stop with the Super League crap. Yes, it's their fault. But the problem is they're just a little bit less accessible globally than the Premier League, mostly due to language, I think. And that's why we need to help them compete in terms of global reach to the Premier League, and then they will make more money as well. And then everything will be fine again. If everyone makes a reasonable amount of money, even if some make more than the others, then it's going to be fine. But hey, at the end of the day, no one really knows how things are going to end up anyway. But it's just my opinion, at least. Help them make some more money, and they're going to stop with the Super League very, very soon. But until we don't, it's all well and good that Real Madrid and Barcelona have money. But if all the others don't, and then the leagues themselves are doing things to keep their leagues competitive, which, restrains the top teams because they are limited so they don't get too far away from their own domestic clubs. It doesn't work together. Like, you can't have both. You can only have one or the other. Either you reel them in, like the big clubs in those countries, so they don't get too much ahead of their own, lesser clubs, or they will lose the touch to the big Premier League clubs because that's where the money is, unfortunately. That's where the money is. Pies, I'll get to you and we'll get to the next topic. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. We'll get again to the Matt Law thing. I'll bring it up on screen in a second. But what has been the kind of proceedings here? Obviously, I think last time we streamed, or can't remember when exactly, but I was talking about that there is a couple of leagues where he could go to. because their season counts as next season already, so then it would be possible. But it seemed like it was going to happen, even though Fabrizio said, they haven't convinced Aubameyang as a player yet. But now, after what Matt Law said, what's the level of information, Pies?
Yeah, so because I'm on my phone, I've not been able to actually read it all, but I've read a little bit of it, and essentially kind of what I just said on the headline. He's said to want to fight for his place at Chelsea and still contribute towards the club, and he just doesn't want to move to America. It would only be a 6-month loan spell anyway, so yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I know Graham Potter's said like, he's been training and he's been doing this and that and he's been working well. I just, like, it just seems like a bit desperate from us to try and get him out, like 6 months loan to America. Like, why are we doing this if he's, if there's no issues? Like, that's just weird. Maybe it's just Bowley trying to flog him off to America or something. I don't know. But again, like, if he's training well and there's no problems and he wants to fight for his place, why are you even negotiating in the first place to an American club? Weird. I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's a weird one. It's a weird one anyway. Like the fact that we removed him from the Champions League squad when obviously we can't register Fofana because obviously he wasn't one of the 3 that we registered. Broja is injured. We didn't include Aubameyang, meaning Havertz and I guess Joao Felix are only actual striker options for the remaining Champions League season. I guess Madueke can play up front and maybe a Pulisic, but out of players that have played there to at least somewhat decent level in the past are only Havertz and Joao Felix. And has Joao Felix even played as a lone striker? I don't even think so. And I would think and say this, get the wages off the books. But apparently the report was we were going to cover his whole wages while he was out on loan anyway. I'm not sure if that was, necessarily true. Pies, was that true in your opinion as well? Before I let Lewis speak about it?
Yeah, I believe it was. I believe it was true.
So there you go. You can't even say it's to get the wages off the book. So I find it strange as well. If he's not throwing too much of his, whether he's in the squad or not doesn't really change anything, does it? Like, Lewis, what's your opinion? Obviously, you think he should start over Havertz anyway, and you think we're being a bit harsh on him in terms of excluding him from the squad and this and that. But in terms of that, we found somewhere to send him to, and now he doesn't want to go. What do we make of that?
Start him tomorrow. I don't blame him for wanting to stay. Like, there's no point going to LAFC unless you just want more game time, but he wants to stay here and fight for a spot. Fair play to him. If you look at the options that we have available as well, I wouldn't blame him for fancying his chances. He's still our best finisher. You could ask questions about what he does off the ball. Completely agree. Like, he's never shown that aspect of that game to us. And you could say, yeah, we need that, but I need someone who can finish chances more. Fact is, like, we can make chances. We showed that in the Fulham game. We made 3 clear-cut chances, and Havertz fluffed his lines for every single one of them. There is no way Oba isn't scoring at least one of them. At the very least, like that chip that he tried to make at the end, Oba's just smashing that in before he even gets to that point.
Well, you say that. The last 2 times Aubameyang was 1-1 with the goalkeeper, he missed. So,
what was it, Salzburg?
No, but didn't he come on as a sub like a few weeks ago and then miss 2 chances as a sub?
I remember he had a chance on the right-hand side, but that was a very tight angle. That wasn't like nothing clear-cut.
It doesn't matter. If we can't remember them, there's no point arguing about it. But yeah, I mean, I won't even disagree with you that he's the best finisher. It's just, if we don't want him here, why is he forcing to stay here? Like, what is he getting out of that? That's the part I don't understand. Because what I take from this is he doesn't want to go to America yet. He doesn't want to leave Europe yet, which is fine. I'm sure he would be happy to go back to Barcelona or anybody else because he will want to play, but still be in a good league and team. But is he really going to still get that opportunity in the summer to play somewhere in Europe if he basically doesn't play for the rest of the season? Now, obviously, Lewis's opinion is fine, play him. But if Potter isn't going to do it, Potter isn't going to do it. Do you know what I mean? And then he's going to sit on the bench or the stands for the rest of the season. What benefit does he see from that?
Unless there's an off-the-pitch issue, I don't understand that, and I'm going to start asking questions of Potter as a result of it. You cannot justify starting Havertz up top to me anymore. I'm finished with it. The guy is a terrible number 9. And he says he can play as a number 9 too. So I don't even want to hear anyone tell me that's not his position or anything. He said numerous times he can play in that position. He's just not good enough. If there is an off the field issue with Oba, fair enough. Assert your authority. I will not question that. If there is no off the pitch issue, what are you doing not starting him? That makes no sense. There's no experience in that front line. We know.
I don't think he makes us. I think he makes us play worse than Havertz. Yes, he's better at finishing than Havertz, but I don't think we've seen yet that we are a better team when Aubameyang plays. So then, okay, you're choosing between the guy that's 23 and the guy that's 33. Both are equally as
the same argument as Lukaku. Because Lukaku was like, oh, we play better as a team when Havertz plays. When Havertz plays, we need a finisher because we make more chances, but he's not good enough to finish. So we're stuck in the same problem. You got to look at what the issue is when the striker is playing. When Aubameyang played, when Lukaku played, the problem is our chance creation. It's too slow. We don't look forward enough and we don't make the right passes. That is our deeper issue. And that's not Aubameyang's fault.
But it says agenda merchant under your thing. Because Lukaku is a twat, but he's certainly a lot better than Aubameyang. Like let's not just say it's
they both had the same
because
issue.
Aubameyang, yes, he's the best finisher at our club. Doesn't mean he's very good anymore either, though.
No, but Lukaku was the same question of, he does nothing.
No, I agree with that.
You have to literally feed him the ball.
This is a bit more valid because with Aubameyang, you can still never be sure whether he's going to score, I think. In my opinion.
No, because Lukaku had terrible misses for us too. So you could have made that. It's the same argument. Both two players who are our best finishers, but Lukaku had more bigger misses. Actually, no, to be fair, tell a lie. They both did because of the Salzburg game too as well. Oba's had his games where he needs to be burying it too. But the bigger issue is, everyone says, oh, you need to put it on a plate for him. So why don't you? Why don't you put it on a plate for him? When it's Havertz, you can do it. But when it's Oba, we can't. Why can't we?
Because Oba doesn't move the way Havertz does.
Oba makes good movements, though, and I've seen it.
Yeah, no. But not just movement in terms of for the final ball, in terms of helping the chance creation happen. Again, it always sounds like when you and me go back and forth, it always sounds like I'm trying to paint Havertz as this great player. That's not even what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying there's certain things that he does better and certain things that Aubameyang does better. Fact of the matter is, neither are good enough. And if neither are good enough, then I would rather play the 23-year-old than the 33-year-old until we can get someone instead of both. Because
you know what? I'm with you on that. I'm fine with Fofana starting. I'm fine. I just don't want Kai up top. I don't want Kai up top.
But yeah, no, hey, that's
I'm finished with Kai. If you want Fofana there, fairs. I'm fine with
that. Fair. Pice, anything you would like to add to that, onto the discussion me and Lewis just went back and forth on? Would you start him? I know I saw a tweet of yours yesterday that you would play Havertz up top, but would you still throw, imagine that everything's fine and you're just like, okay, who's available? Aubameyang, Havertz, both available. Would you pick him? Or would you edge towards Havertz, especially with the other players that we have?
I'd 100% pick Aubameyang. I think with the talent we've got around him, Madueke, Felix, Mudryk, Reece James back with cross into the box, Aubameyang's 100% the best option. But I'm not even considering him anymore because I don't think he'll play for us again. I just don't. I
agree.
Maybe he'll start coming off the bench, but I don't think things are going very well. I have to put Havertz up there as much as I don't rate him because I don't see Fofana starting either. I don't think he's ready yet. So, look, if we're doing a predicted team, which we probably will later, Fofana's definitely a shout. I mean, why not try something different? But,
the problem is that Fofana is so flippin' small. That's my problem. Havertz isn't great, but at least he will win you the front post headers when defending corners. There's a reason why we're better with him defending set pieces than when Aubameyang or anybody else plays, because he's bad at a lot of things, but he's actually, and that shouldn't be a reason to start him. Don't get me wrong. But if the guy replacing him isn't good at that because he's short, then that's a problem. And the one thing Kai does is every now and again he scores a header. Everything else he misses anyway. How often has he scored with his foot in recent times? If he scores, it's with his head. So then if you put someone smaller there, and our team is used to putting the ball to Kai on his head, then is that even instantly going to work? I don't know. I'm intrigued to see it if Potter picks it, but I'm not sure if I would pick it myself just because I'm like, I don't know. Because we play too many high balls to play a 5'11" striker up top, in my opinion. I think that.
I'm bored of this debate, bro. I'm really bored of it. Yeah, I don't care.
Absolutely fair. That is fair. And on that very note, we're going to get to, as Bertram described it, how did he describe it? I forgot. Well, a very interesting quiz we're going to get to today. Before we talk about injury news and the team for tomorrow, let's get to what's going to be a somewhat weird quiz ahead of Chelsea versus West Ham, or West Ham versus Chelsea, I should say. Here says Wenger out means out. Here we've got Frank Lampard smoking a cigar. Here we've got Thomas Tuchel. Here we've got the Backstreet Boys out of the England team, which includes no Chelsea player, and randomly Eden Hazard and AFTV. So, big up troops. But, we go on the next slide. Welcome to the Laos 1507 crib tour. As we are going away from
decent crib though, still.
Hey, it's nice. I wish. I'm not sure it quite go that much gold, but we moved. As we are going away from home tomorrow, we will look at some cool things that certain footballers have at home. And guess who? Please enjoy as Quizmaster Bertram has watched about 3 hours worth of footballer MTV cribs. He's mental. All right. Which of the following footballers own an arcade machine with pictures of themselves on it? Number 1, Aubameyang. Number 2, Lukaku. Number 3, Hakim Ziyech. And number 4, Christian Pulisic. At least what's good, because Lewis is always on here, and Lewis always just knows every answer. But at least you can't know these answers. So
yeah, this one might be a bit too far for even me.
No, exactly. So we're just playing a guessing game. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, get involved if you want a bit of fun. We'll get into picking out in a bit. But who would you pick, man? Who could you see having an arcade at home?
It's got to be Lukaku. The guy's got a huge ego. He's probably got pictures of himself around his house. It's got to be Lukaku.
Oh, pictures of them? Yeah.
I feel like also Lukaku did a house tour once with Rio Ferdinand, and I feel like maybe Bertram watched that, because where else would he have thought of this question?
Yeah, it's true. Did Aubameyang maybe do one of these? Aubameyang is very lavish, isn't he? With his
cars. Yeah. A few people are saying Oba, but I'm not sure. I had my eye on Pulisic before they said.
I had my eye on Pulisic as well, because it seems very American, this whole arcade thing, right?
Yeah.
Pulisic is that type of person, though.
No, I agree with you, but I thought maybe he didn't get his pictures himself put on there. Maybe just whoever made it for him all of a sudden sent it with a flipping picture of him on it, and he's like, "Well, what?"
Yeah, true.
I can't figure out. I'm just gonna say Lukaku.
I'm gonna guess Oba. Who are you gonna guess, Pulisic?
I'll say Lukaku as well.
Okay, there you go. Okay, let's see. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang will be taking this absolute monstrosity with him to LA. Well, apparently he won't, but yeah, there you go.
He will not, my friend. Big up.
But Lewis, surely after that we can't start him anymore now, even if he's better than Hamas.
He's got to get that Arsenal one off the middle, and then we start him.
Yeah, I didn't even see that. I've got a flipping Arsenal thing. Oh, maybe he's got rid of this since then, though. I will give him the benefit of the doubt. All right, question 2. Which baller has hanged their own informed FIFA card and fan art up in their hallway? Marco Reus, Jude Bellingham, Axel Witsel, or Rafael Guerrero? Okay, now we're doing a Dortmund one. I guess we'll play Dortmund on Wednesday, so I might as well. Even though Axel Witsel doesn't play at Dortmund anymore, he plays at Atletico Madrid now. But, we move. So who could you imagine having their own inform and fan art up on hanging up in their hallway?
How does he think we know this?
I don't think you're supposed to. I think you're just supposed to guess and see whether you get it right.
Wait,
Bertram did warn us and told us this would be mental.
Yeah, he won't.
Is he talking about FIFA cards?
Yeah, he's got an informed FIFA card up on screen and fan art.
Royce. Yeah.
I'll say Bellingham.
I was going to say Bellingham as well, yeah.
I'm just thinking one of the younger players.
Exactly. I mean, Axel Witsel could be that guy. He's that guy that was a super talented player and at 22 or whatever he was, went to Zenit St. Petersburg. So you can't it's got to be somehow weird in the mind. So maybe he hangs up his own info cards. So to be different, I'll say Witsel. But all right, let's see who it is. Look at me go. Axel Witsel is clearly a fan of his FIFA card. It's an 84 as well. Do you know what I mean? If he was a 90.
84.
Do you know what I mean? 74 pace, man. Sort yourself out. He did have a mistake, a gift from his wife as a fan present. All right, fair enough. Next question. Which player has an entire wine fridge dedicated entirely to Coca-Cola? Azpilicueta, Rashford, Lloris, or Harry Kane?
What? I think it'd be Rashford. Only because I did just watch a Rashford house tour like yesterday, and he had a bunch. No, that was Dr. Pepper though. No, maybe
you did. Okay. Well, maybe.
I don't think it'd be Aspi. He looks after himself too much for that.
And it can't be Lloris either. Surely you can't. I can't imagine.
Nah, because like Kane looks after himself. It'll be Lloris. It's got to be Lloris.
I feel like is he not a bit old to do that?
No, but like his job also doesn't really require as much stamina as outfield players. So he can do that.
That's true. I'm just thinking, are you really going to have a Coca-Cola fridge in your 30s? Do you know what I mean?
I might.
To be fair, I might too. We aren't athletes, you know what I mean? So, let us know. Guys, what would be your shout? Do you reckon Rashford for age, or are you going to throw any one of the older boys in there?
What is the question?
Which player has an entire wine fridge dedicated entirely to Coca-Cola?
Right. I want to say Rashford. I don't know. I feel like he's kind of...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe he'll go like this, stand in front of his wine fridge and, claim he's sorted the flipping thing again. Okay, it's not as impressive as I thought. Though he didn't believe he was classy enough to drink wine, he still decided to fill the wine cooler with red Coca-Colas. This is obviously Marcus Rashford. But yeah, I imagine a much bigger thing, so I let him off a bit more now. But here you go. Next question. Okay, who owns this? What am I looking at? Is it the room? Okay, Andy Carroll, Michu, Jonathan Walters, or Peter Crouch?
What?
It can't be Peter Crouch because that person is not tall enough to be Peter Crouch. So,
who's the other three?
Andy Carroll, Michu, from Swansea back in the day, or Jonathan Walters from Stoke.
Surely it's got to be Michu.
I reckon so, because he was a one-season wonder. He made this dough and now he's spending it. It's got to be Michu. What do you reckon, Lewis?
Might be. What was the first one again?
And Andy Carroll.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
it could be Andy Carroll. To be fair,
I don't know. I'll say Andy Carroll. Fuck it.
All right, let's see.
It's got a little feeling.
It is Andy Carroll. Look at yourself.
Oh, I don't know. I saw the background. I saw the zebra printing, and I just thought Andy Carroll. So I don't know why.
Is that just because you played for Newcastle?
Maybe that'll be it. That'll be it. Because nothing else makes sense.
There you go. All right, next one. Which current Fulham player's favorite item is a toy horse called Diego? William, Mitrovic, Polinia, or Andreas Pereira? Favorite toy horse called Diego.
What the hell?
I feel like if this was Williams, I would know about this just because it's so random. I feel like Chelsea Twitter would have talked about this. So that's why I'm going to say Andreas Pereira. I feel like someone at Man United just gave him a toy horse called Diego, and that's why it's his favorite thing now. I'm going to say Andreas Pereira. Pies, who are you going to guess?
I might just go Mitrovic because it might be like one of those ones where you're like, so you think he's like a really hard man, and then he just has his favorite thing's a toy horse. So I might just go with that.
I'm thinking Paulinho. Don't know why. I'm just thinking Paulinho.
Fairs. All right. Let's see then. At least we're getting different guesses. Who is it? It is Andreas Pereira. I'm getting lucky on these ones. It is the man who nearly scored against us a week ago, Mr. Andreas Pereira. Fair play. All right. Now, as we are still playing a game tomorrow, we should still have a question involving West Ham. So, which manager promised a £500 sterling ham? Wasn't it a Spanish ham? If he kept a clean sheet at the bridge against us.
I've heard of this story. I can't remember what player it was, though.
See, what the story I heard, though, was that...
Is it a Chelsea manager?
I heard that Mourinho gave... what was the left-back called that left now again? Regulon. That Mourinho gave Regulon a huge Iberico ham for Christmas because he knew he was spending Christmas on his own. But keeping a clean sheet against us, which manager promised him £500 ham?
Wait, isn't it that guy? Isn't it? I know isn't the goalie like that Martin guy who made his first game against us?
Could be, but we're not looking for who the player is. We're looking for which manager promised it.
Well, it would have
I
been.
think Sam Allardyce.
Okay.
Only
I'm
because
going
I
to say
remember they had a
Pellegrini.
very annoying 0-0 draw against us in 13-14.
It could be. I'm going to say Pellegrini just because I can see an Argentinian. They love their meat down there, don't they? So I feel like I could see him turning up with a huge flipping leg of ham. But, Pies, who you going to guess?
I mean, I'll go Moyes just because I think it's that Martin guy, but I don't know why he would do that. So probably not.
I don't know either.
No, it's left back though, isn't it?
Well, let's see.
It
But
was
you're talking about
Mourinho.
West Ham.
What? Clean sheet
Oh,
against
no,
us.
he's
Is that
taking the
'cause they're
piss. He wasn't talking about West Ham. He was just talking about Ham.
clean sheet against us though? Wait, was that? Go on to the next page. Is that?
No, it shows and regular. But let me explain. So it's not after they got a clean sheet that he got it. It's like if you keep a clean sheet, you will get it. But I thought it was to do with Christmas. I think, Bertrand, you might have had a howler here, and you might have had the wrong reading.
Yeah,
But
because you
what
said
does
a
it say?
clean sheet against us, but that one wasn't because it was against us. You said it was because of Christmas.
Yeah, I thought that. That's what I've read at least a couple of times. So who knows? I mean, let's see what he said here. I hope you enjoyed it, everyone, because I certainly won't ever get those 3 hours watching Jesse Lingard talking about his kitchen back ever again. Let's get behind the boys and remember to bring the binoculars if you're going to London Stadium tomorrow.
Right.
Thanks for playing enough to chess. All right.
Big
I'm not, I think you might have had a little bit of a howler with that regular one, but I appreciate the quiz regardless, as always. That was funny.
Big
all right.
up, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, if you're still here, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 20,000.
Oh, it was against us. Oh, fair enough.
Was it against us? I
Yeah,
genuinely
you
thought it was
comment.
for Christmas. So, Belgium, my apologies. I must have been misinformed by
Big up.
Twitter. All right. What we need to discuss. So, before we get it was against us, Belgium. Sorry, I didn't see you in the chat yet. My bad. So, before we get into the team for tomorrow, we should probably discuss who is and who is not available. Because as much as a whole week has passed since our last game, still none of our flipping midfielders are back fit. Which still pisses me off, and still pisses me off that Jorginho is at Arsenal now, because otherwise we could just play Jorginho as the DM and let Enzo play higher up and be much more creative, and you don't need to play flipping Gallagher or Mason Mount, and we'd all be happy. But of course, no, 10 million, and everyone's like, oh, selling Jorginho was a great idea. No, it fucking wasn't. Stupid idiots. But now we might have to see Gallagher again next to Enzo in a double pivot, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But apparently, Nizar Kinsella thinks that's what's going to happen. But yeah, Mateo Kovacic is back in training. Zakaria is back in training. Even N'Golo Kante is apparently expected to return to team training next week. But obviously, none of them are anywhere near. Oh, no, I shouldn't say anywhere near. But the game comes too early for all of them. And to top things off, Raheem Sterling, who of course had just returned from an injury in the last game, coming off the bench, is now a doubt again for tomorrow. At least that's how Graham Potter worded it, even if Simon Johnson said he's just missing the game. So I'm a little bit confused how Simon Johnson came to that conclusion. But anyway, Potter said, well, he picked up a kick in training, so I guess he's a doubt for tomorrow. So who knows? Maybe Sterling isn't fit. Did anyone want to play him anyway? I didn't. So, not that bothered. But in midfield, it does flip and bother me. So, Pice, I have to go with you. Why is your boy Kovacic never fit, man? Why can he play every game with the World Cup and he's never available for us? How is this? Come on now.
Well, he's just come back, so just give him another few days and he'll be ready.
Yeah, but if he's not ready to feature at all tomorrow, that means he won't be ready to start in Dortmund either. Meaning, we will have to start with flipping Gallagher or Ruben in midfield there again.
Well, maybe Zakaria will be ready because he came back before Kovacic. So
yeah, but if he's again, wouldn't they be on the bench tomorrow then, and at least come on as a sub if they were going to start on Wednesday? Like that would be insane otherwise. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe, but it is the Champions League, so desperate times call for desperate measures.
I mean, yeah, fair enough, but I don't know. It pisses me off that we don't have a midfield. To be honest, like. Why? We all knew we needed a midfielder. We spent 120 million euros on one and we sold another one. So now we still have no midfielders. Like, it's just stupid to me. Lewis, you seem to somehow agree with, it being stupid that Jorginho was gone. What do we do in midfield then? I mean, Felix being back is a positive because at least we can only play a two-man midfield and have Felix in front of them. But still not ideal now, is it?
No. Like, it all depends on Potter, really, because I don't really expect too much from the midfield, but I'd like to see us try something different. I've said all week that I don't want to see the trio of Mount, Gallagher, and Havertz starting. And I know we still got midfield injuries, but Chukwuemeka's fit, Lewis Hall's fit. There are other options. If we were to try those options, and if they didn't work, fair enough. But at least we're trying different things out. Gallagher in the pivot, I'm not here for. I already know that's not going to work. I've seen it happen enough times. It's not going to work. Try something different. Chukwuemeka, has he had a start other than the Palace game? I don't recall.
And I don't think he's ever played in a pivot in the Premier League, though, to be fair. So I'm not sure if that's a thing either, if I'm honest.
Yeah, like we tried Hall against Liverpool. I know that didn't work out, but at least he's had one game in there. Maybe we could try that. I know Gallagher's not going to work, and you get the same thing you get with Mount, and both of them aren't working, and both need to be benched. Take them both out because they've just been playing too long, and that's only going to put them up for more criticism. Put somebody fresh in there. If Chukwuemeka plays in a double pivot and it doesn't work, it's whatever.
You try.
Okay, we've learned that. We move on. Lewis Hall, if it doesn't work, it's whatever. We move on. If it's Gallagher, the question is going to be, why have you played him again after a poor performance? So that's a completely different conversation.
I agree. I mean, Loftus-Cheek is back, but he was supposedly already back last week, and then he wasn't even in the squad. So I don't really know if he was just not picked, because obviously we have now such a huge squad, now that we have a few of the injuries back. We have such a huge squad that maybe he was just left out. But our only midfielder on the bench against Fulham last week was Chukwuemeka. So surely you wouldn't only put one midfielder on your bench if you had another one available. So maybe Ruben is an option. Sorry?
Isn't Ruben meant to be back?
Yeah, no, exactly. But he was supposedly back for Fulham already, and then he wasn't in the squad. So I have no idea if he wasn't picked or wasn't actually ready. I don't know. So I don't know if he's, because if he just left him out last week, then, well, we know he's not going to play him tomorrow. Otherwise, he wouldn't have left him out. But if he just wasn't fit, then I guess maybe he becomes an option for tomorrow. Pice, I know we're going to talk about the team in a second anyway, but we're discussing the midfield already. I don't know why Nizar Quintela seem to be so adamant that it's going to be Gallagher next to Enzo, but it's not flipping ideal, is it? Now that we had two games now, 2 Premier League games, which, I mean, we don't know the result for tomorrow yet, but I think we would have had 2 more points had we had one other proper midfielder last week. Are we going to suffer, lose a few more points because we don't have a midfield, or what are we going to do?
Mate, if I see Mount or Gallagher in the pivot tomorrow, I'm going to flip shit, honestly. Like, they have to be dropped. Like, I'm not even just me being over dramatic. The amount of people I've seen on Twitter this week, big accounts as well, saying they're directly looking at this game tomorrow. Like, they're looking to see what Potter picks, because I refuse to believe the best option is either of those in the pivot. Surely Mount is not going to play in the 10 over Felix. So one thing which I'm scared is going to happen is just to fit Mount in, he's going to put Felix up top and Mount behind, just so Mount can fit in, because he's the star boy, even though he's absolute dog shit this season. Hope that doesn't happen. So what needs to happen is either Ruben, Chukwuemeka, even Hall in the pivot, mate. Any one of those 3, miles better than Gallagher or Mount in the pivot. Absolutely miles better. And even if they're not great, you still do it, because you have to make the changes. You have to try something different. Yeah. You can't, you just can't play those to any one of those 2 tomorrow. I'll just be livid, honestly. Even if he picks them and they play well, like, the premise of just going into that game and doing that is just like, bro, like, oh my God. He'd be lucky if he picks one of those 2 tomorrow and they actually play well. He'd be lucky more than anything.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, Lewis Hall is even far ahead in that order for a double pivot position over Chukwuemeka. If we move to a midfield 3, it's a different scenario, but because Felix is back and, like Jester said, also confirmed by Matt Law to start, just a question, like Pi said, maybe he starts up front. Doesn't mean that still is a start. We just don't know exactly the position yet. But let's go through the team and we'll figure out what kind of double pivot we decide on in a minute. Let's start with the goalkeeper. Obviously, Kepa is the only option anyway, because even though Potter was asked about injuries today, he still didn't mention Mendy. I have no idea. I've never seen a goalkeeper be out this long for a finger injury. Usually they play like with their fingers taped and all sorts. Look at what's his name? Rob Green's fingers. Clearly the guy's played plenty of games with a broken finger. So where's Mendy at? I don't know what's happening here. But Kepa in goal, I presume we're all in agreement. No one's going to make a crazy shout for Danilo or Bettinelli.
I'm sorry. Vic K and Sultan. Carney in the pivot, or you guys saying it makes no sense. Can you tell me what makes sense about Mount or Gallagher in a pivot then, please? I'd like to be enlightened. Sorry.
Exactly. It's just something different. Try something new out other than the same old stuff that we already know isn't going to work. What is the definition of insanity, people?
Yeah.
Same thing again and again and again and again and again, and you expect a different result. No, try something different.
I agree. Yeah. The thing is, because we play such a fluid mix recently, before Felix, now with Felix, this might change. But in the last few games, it's always been fluid between 4-3-3 and 4-2-3-1. Then I can maybe accept Gallagher, because then at least partly he plays as an 8. And at least he's somewhat capable of that. But if it's a flat-out double pivot, then it cannot be Gallagher. In my opinion, also cannot be Chukwuemeka, and you should decide between Ruben and Hall. But sure, I agree with you guys. Before you're going to play Gallagher, still play Chukwuemeka. But I would also not play Chukwuemeka, if that makes sense. But yeah.
You think about it. If you think about it, look at West Ham's midfield. Souček and Rice. I think you have to play Ruben or Carney.
If he's fit, which I think he is. He might be
physical battle. I feel like we'll get absolutely done physically if we don't play someone big in there.
Yeah.
So
now that Korea isn't available, we need to play Ruben. Yeah, I agree, mate.
Yeah,
absolutely agree. But yeah, let's not even have a conversation about Kepa. It has to be Kepa. Even the centre backs. I mean, Wednesday, different conversation. But now that Badiashile is still, he's in the Premier League, he's eligible. Has to be those two, doesn't it, Lewis? It just has to be 3 clean sheets in a row. They're basically them two and Kepa are basically our personal private insurance at the moment.
Exactly. No change in the back with the back two. Fullbacks we could have a discussion about, but yeah, Badiashile, Thiago Silva, 3 clean sheets in 3, no change.
Fair. No, I agree, Pies. I presume you're in agreement as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it can't be anyone else.
Fair. You know what, Pies? I'm going to stick with you. What do we do about right back? Because Reece James is a conversation we need to have. Obviously, he played 60 minutes last week. He probably could play 80 to 90 tomorrow. But the question is, can he then start again Wednesday? That's the big question. What I would do, if he is capable of that, and I would assume he is, do another 60 minutes tomorrow, take him off after an hour again, bring Aspie on, and then see if he can play the full 90 on Wednesday. That's what I would do. So I would start him again tomorrow, but I would again make sure I take him off after an hour. Yeah,
sounds like a decent plan, to be fair. Not against it.
Fair. Lewis, would you agree, or would you leave him out tomorrow, Reece James, to make sure he's ready for Wednesday?
I didn't want him to get rushed into the Fulham game. I didn't really get why he's starting. That's part of the reason why he didn't play well. But you've now put him in. He's got a bit more sharpness as a result. You might as well start him. Maybe bring him off in the second half and bring Chalobah on if you want to secure the lead, and then he's ready for Wednesday. But you might as well start him, seeing as you did it against Fulham.
There you go. I'm in agreement. So full house over here. Other side then. Cucurella was also a big talking point of the press conference. A journalist went quite into depth with his question about Cucurella, talking about kind of asking again about the whole family thing that Potter talked about a week or two ago, and just in general the form. And he also mentioned that Todd Bowley's account liked a post saying Cucurella isn't good enough for Chelsea, which is interesting. I still don't think Bowley runs this account himself, so it doesn't worry me too much, but still.
It is him.
How do you know?
I just know it's him. It is him.
But how do you know it's not multiple people that have access to this account? Because that's what I think. I do think he will have access to this account too. Obviously, it's his account. But I do think he will have some PR guy that's also on this account for him.
I've been told he uses it regularly, so yeah.
Who, Chilwell?
No, Todd Bowley, who liked the post about Cucurella, that he isn't good enough for Chelsea.
So he did like that Mount tweet.
If that's actually Todd Bowley needs to stop. Like, I know it's funny, but he needs to stop. He's. I was
also told.
Speak your mind, bro. Speak your mind, please.
Yeah, but he's not speaking his mind. He's just liking posts.
Yeah, no, but
that's all he needs is the owner. That's a voice in itself. If I see Todd Bowley's liking one of my tweets, cool. I know I'm saying the right thing.
We shouldn't get too ahead of ourselves, though, because I've been told a lot that he's accidentally liked stuff. So. Yeah, I don't think it's anything.
So chubby old man fingers, basically, they can't control their life. Okay.
Yeah, it was described as fat fingers to me. So
I mean, he did unlike it, but it doesn't mean he didn't still agree with it, but then realize, oh, maybe that was a bit stupid. Let me unlike that. Do you know what I mean?
I'm trying to get a follow off him right now because he's following.
Yeah, you should. You should.
some-
It's not DMing Fabrizio or Finkelstein. You need to be DMing Todd Bowley himself, mate.
I'll try.
Exactly. But on that note, Cucurella, Ben Chilwell. The problem is Ben Chilwell got, 8-9 minutes last week after being, because he's not played since, September, was it? Early October. He's not ready to start, is he? So unless you're going to play Lewis Hall there, it's going to be Cucurella again. But would either of you make a shout for? I'm just going to tell you, Ben Chilwell is not going to start. So it's between Cucurella and Lewis Hall. But is anyone going to pick Lewis Hall? Price, are you going to pick Lewis Hall, or is it going to be Cucurella?
I'll tell you what, I might put Lewis Hall. You know, I might do.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of him, but
yeah, I mean, Cucurella was just.
He wasn't awful last game, but he certainly wasn't good, was he?
Yeah, I feel like Hall with his pace could be a big asset for us. And
Hall with his through balls to Mudryk, because Cucurella don't fucking
that was one thing last game. I know, Mudryk supposedly was ill, but like it was just like no connection there. And people might think, well, what connection is an 18-year-old going to have with Mudryk? But Hall's I think he's been very impressive for us so far. So I'm not against it. I did pick Cucurella over on Twitter, but I didn't really think about Hall at left back, to be honest. So
he's not the perfect option, but at the moment Cucurella is neither. So
I think he's better than Cucurella right now. So I'm going to put Hall in. Yeah.
You know what? I kind of back it. Lewis, would you back it, or are you going to pick Cucurella?
I was the same. Like, I was going to pick Cucurella for the first half, but now you've mentioned Lewis Hall. Yeah, play him there. I think he's been good enough for the appearances that he's had on the left that it's not a crazy assumption to make. And with Cucurella's, last game against Fulham, on the worst players on the pitch, the only reason why we don't speak about it was because of how bad the attack was. But he was terrible. So, yeah, put Lewis Hall in because we need a composed performance at the back.
Exactly. And if Lewis Hall manages to have some sort of connection with Mudryk, well, then Cucurella will seriously need to worry about his spot in the team, because I still think Chilwell, fully fit, is the best left back we have. But obviously, we're still probably more to see from Cucurella.
He's got to get back his game management, though, because that ACL just ruined that.
Yeah,
I think Cucurella's performances have made a lot of people forget about how bad Chilwell was this season.
Bro, I watched a comp the other day. Someone said that I'm not trying to slander Chilwell, but it was like, remember Chilwell before injury? I can't remember what game it was, but there was this comp. It was 2 minutes. All he did was pass backwards. And I was just like, okay, I'm not so excited.
But hey, at least he scored our win against West Ham, so that's something.
But that's the thing. Like, he's passing back because he don't trust his body like that. And that's why I keep saying with Chilwell, I'm not asking him to be a starter for the next year or so. Just get yourself back up to speed. It's Hall and Cucurella for me right now. But Chilwell,
next season, we can expect the start of next season. We can expect Chile to be at his best again, because obviously he had time still over the ACL. The injury now.
Hey Man City apparently won him, didn't they?
Yeah, but surely they don't. They don't really, do they?
If they put in 60 million for Chilwell, I'm saying nothing.
They wanted Chilwell before we signed him, remember?
But they also wanted Cucurella before we signed him, so can we not just give him in? Now, I like Cucurella, but if he doesn't improve at some point, then so far I'm kind of losing my faith in him at the moment. That's why
I hear it. I just think Chilwell v Cucurella, like, realistically, no one's winning in that one.
You boys are harsh, man. Chilwell was
harsh, or are we wrong?
Chilwell was phenomenal for times. Like at times for us, man.
Yeah, before the ACL.
Absolutely.
Now it's not helping anyone, that debate, because they're both bringing their own problems.
Yeah, but he might get back to his best at some point. He hasn't had enough time since.
Yeah, I've got full faith in that. Full faith in that in the future. But as for this season, no.
Okay, fair enough. Oh, is this real? What Jacob Steinberg about Declan Rice, Pies? Have you seen this as well?
Oh no!
I heard that I saw that Chelsea don't want to spend a lot on him or whatever. But
I'll bring it up now, and we can quickly talk about it. It's nothing too big, so don't worry about it. No one has to lose their mind.
Oh no, it's another Mason Mount PR sesh. Don't even give.
No, it's if anything more.
Mount should be the one leading Chelsea into a new era. He provided the assist for Havertz's winner in the final. He scored vital goals at Anfield in the burner. But talk to me about 2023, man. I can't be bothered.
It's true.
This PR sesh is so tiring.
But I will say, I'm arguably, even though West Ham are having a bad season, I'm even more impressed by Rice this season because he's still the best midfielder in pretty much every stat this season, even though his team are 17th. And that, to me, makes it even more impressive. But yeah, Jacob Steinberg has apparently said Chelsea inquired about Declan Rice last summer. There are doubts over whether they are quite as fixated on him now. There is a sense that they will not look to break the bank for Rice. So, hey, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I guess what Arsenal are willing to spend, what we are willing to spend, and who else is interested, I suppose. Also depends, are we going to be in the Champions League? Yes or no, blah, blah, blah. All right, we picked Lewis Holder left back. Might as well. Now, one thing's for damn sure. Enzo Fernandez will start, has to start. I cannot wait to see him start. The question is, who plays next to me? Are we all going to pick Ruben? I'm going to pick Ruben.
Ruben, yeah.
Right, Lewis, is it Ruben for you? Now that we picked Hall at left back, can't really put him in
Ruben's
midfield,
fully fit, right?
I'm only picking him on the basis that I think he is. So, yeah.
You might as well. You might. I think that's our best option.
But you got to switch him round though, because Enzo's currently the deepest.
Do you think that matters in left or right, or do you think it just matters in just whoever can go?
I think it matters in left and right usually. But I know we
disagree with this, but you know, Kovacic always played on the left, and he certainly wasn't deeper than George.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. I proved it to you 3 times after that. Otherwise, Kovacic was always injured, so I couldn't prove it to you. But had to throw an extra dig in there. But I don't really care which way around they play. It doesn't matter to me at all. So yeah, I don't care. Play them whichever way you want, Potter. But yeah, if you're in agreement as well, Lewis, very good. Hey, people know I love Ruben, so I hope he's fit. I hope he can play. And now I will get to a super chat from earlier by Tucheliban. I didn't bring it up until now, but I will bring it now. He says, I'm tired of Potter, man, needs to grow up hair and make big boy decisions. And those big boy decisions are dropping Mason Mount. Lewis, do you think Mason, obviously we are all going to agree that Mason Mount gets dropped. In our team, he's not going to be. But do you think Potter drops him? Because if Felix plays...
How can he not drop him? Like, realistically.
Exactly. My real fear, and I will only show this on screen super quickly. My big fear.
If he does that, honestly, if he does that,
Mount on the wing. Don't even.
That's my fear that he's going to do that.
If he does that,
Sterling's injured.
Bro, but we got Madueke.
I know, but I still fear that he might do that.
Nah, if he does that, oh mate, that's criminal. I'm sorry, absolute criminal.
I agree.
So if he does that, all my Potter prop is going on pause.
Yeah. No,
I won't switch to Potter out, but I'm not saying nothing about Potter.
Yeah, no, fair. But the one positive, I guess, obviously Lewis especially, even Pice to some extent, wants Havertz and Mount dropped. I guess if Felix starts and we don't assume Mount plays on the wing, at least one of them will be dropped. The question is, who do you reckon it will be, Lewis? Do you think it's Mount and Felix plays as the 10? Or do you think it's Havertz that gets dropped and Felix plays up front?
Bench to both. Both. It's got to be both. We have the options now for both.
What do you think it will be? Not
Felix. Felix, I think you'll put Mudryk on the left.
Yeah.
It'd be Madueke or Sterling. Like, you could use Madueke as yet another good option off the bench because he had a great...
Sterling isn't fit, bro. Sterling got a kick in training.
And Sterling's not... Yeah, that free.
He might be
injured, fine. So. And then Oba or Fofana.
Well, you're not allowed to pick Oba because he's never going to be picked. So
Fofana. I could actually see like this game after that cameo against Man City. Just put him in, give him a 90, give him a start.
Yeah.
See what,
or at least a 60, 70, yeah.
And see, that lineup looks a lot better. If I see that starting 11, I'd actually be confident for the game.
Okay. Would that be your front four as well, Pice? Or would you stick to Kai?
Well, I said Kai, but half of that based on Twitter and I replied to CFC Daily was just kind of a prediction as well. So,
yeah.
No, I'd like to see Fofana. I mean, Havertz just makes me fucking angry every time I watch it. I get really angry. I just can't stand him at the moment. So I haven't done for a long time, and you know that. But yeah, no, I'd play Fofana. Like, why not? Try something different, man. He's quick. You know, we can play balls in behind. You know, I mean, if Gallagher can play that fucking pass against Fulham, then Enzo definitely can. So, like, yeah, I mean, as well, like, I'm thinking, like, if we do get chances, Havertz is not going to be any more clinical than Fofana. I just don't believe that. I just don't. Unless it's with the head, which you make a good point. If Reece James plays, Reece James does put a lot of, like, high crosses in, but and you could argue that, these, especially if it's Mudryk, Felix, Madueke, I know they've been in training, but they're definitely more comfortable with Havertz, in my opinion. But I don't know. At times, Havertz and Felix were quite nice against Fulham away. So, there's definitely a debate for Havertz. But for me, Fofana, try something different, be ruthless. If it doesn't work, at least you've had the balls to drop players that are underperforming. So, yeah.
There you go. Sorry, I'm just giving the ladies and gentlemen in the chat the option for a poll. I'm just going to give you the option between Kai Havertz and David Dacho Fofana. Pick who you would like to see up front. I assume most of you are probably going to pick Fofana. That's absolutely fine. Just place your vote in the poll at the very top of the live chat. I would pick Kai Havertz still. I know people hate this. My argument for Kai is always, I want to still give him a chance in a functioning attack, and until now it's clearly not being a functioning attack. If then it doesn't work, just leave it. But if you finally have Felix back, and you have Mudryk hopefully not having a cold, and you have Madueke not being with his first games anymore, try that again. Because now if you throw Fofana in here and it works, we still don't actually know if that necessarily means Havertz doesn't work, because maybe it's because the three behind it work. So that's why I would go Havertz again, but you boys pick Fofana. We're going to keep Fofana up on screen. Ladies and gentlemen, you still please place your vote in the poll, and we will move on to this. After that, let me get to the next super chat by L9. Paulinho is a wrecking ball and is cheap bun rice. Lewis, what do you reckon about that one? Declan Rice, I'm not sure quite how much of a fan or not fan you are, if I'm honest. But do you think Paulinho from Fulham is good enough that we should consider him instead of someone like Rice?
Yeah, and he got like the most tackles or interceptions in the league this season. I could see that. I could see that debate. He had a great game against us too.
And we like a good young player at the moment, so
yeah, I need to watch a bit more Fulham before I make a judgment call. But from what I've seen, I'm impressed. Rice, I rate him as a box-to-box midfielder. I don't think he's worth the amount that West Ham are looking for, because apparently it's 90 to 100 million again. No, we can find a ball winner for that. But yeah, he's not bad. I just think he's just a little bit overrated from a lot of portions of the Chelsea fan base.
That's absolutely fair. That's absolutely fair. For me, I do rate Rice quite highly, actually. I think the main reason why I want Rice is because I think he gives us a certain security and a bit of leadership that our squad drastically lacks. Obviously, we have Thiago Silva, but other than Thiago Silva, who's a leader in our team? I mean, Reece James. Okay. But that's only when he's fit. So when Reece James is not fit, then you have to assume he's usually misses at least a certain part of the season. Then you have Thiago Silva and maybe Kepa as your main leaders. I would like to add someone to that. Do you know what I mean? So that's one big reason for me why I would like Rice. But Paulinho is a good option. But like Lewis, though, I will say I would need to see more to have a full, fair opinion on this. Price, I mean, what about you? Is Paulinho an option that you would consider instead of Rice, especially if we're not willing to go to bid as big again?
Isn't he quite old though?
I think he's super young, is he not?
No, I don't think so.
We're talking about the same Paulinho from Fulham, sorry.
Hang on.
Why can I find him?
What are you looking for?
I found him.
Age.
Oh, he's 27 actually. I thought he was way younger than that.
That's not a bad age, to be fair. Yeah,
but I still don't want him now. I thought it was like 22.
No, I feel like we need a few signings that are like 27, 26, 25, 27, 28. Like, yeah, I mean, I'd be up for it, but
it can only be reasonably cheap. So, but like Josh said here, he's turning 28. Have you seen the signings we've made recently? We're not signing someone that's about to turn 28. Let's be honest. So it might not be Rice, but I doubt it's going to be someone that's about to turn 28. Check out CFC new vid post on Fofana. Baller. Okay. What video?
Probably just a training video or something.
Maybe. But Martin, I appreciate the super chat. I will check it out in my own time because otherwise you never know with Chelsea what copyright strikes they hit you with. Yeah, Caicedo. I like Caicedo, but I feel like, I don't know. I'm still not sold on it all because I'm like, do I want another Kante? Is that really what I want? If we're keeping Kante, do I want another Kante? I don't really see the point.
Read Jester's comment, bro.
What has he said? When you need Chinese.
The only time you need rice is when you have a
Big up Jesters.
You do need some good rice when you have an Indian as well. So, let's not slag it off too much. But yeah, there you go. What is the poll saying so far? 121 votes, ladies and gentlemen. You've done well, but get your votes involved. So far, David Fofana is winning with an absolute landslide of 78% against Kai Havertz's 22%. I wonder what it would have been if I added Aubameyang to that, how much that would have split things. But between the two more realistic options, David Dacho Fofana is most certainly winning. By the way, I'm a big fan of the fact that he has D. Fofana on the back of his shirt for David Dacho. That is not going by just one of them. I quite enjoy that. But one other thing I wanted to bring up on screen, which seems to have also come from wherever these Jacob Steinberg bits of news have come out from. Mount wants to feel valued. Chelsea are optimistic of an agreement, but do not want to be sentimental. Liverpool are lurking. It is not inconceivable that Chelsea will look to sell Mount this summer if a contract remains unsigned. Yeah, I agree. If we don't sign a contract before the summer, there's a good chance Mount leaves. But
keep asking for 250k, bro.
He will eventually sign that contract. Whatever the terms may be, we don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But he will sign a new contract. Don't you think, Lewis? Eventually he will?
Not if he keeps asking for the money he's asking.
Yeah, well, we don't know if that's true, man.
We don't know if it's about 300k a week, but we can all tell that it's above 200.
But we don't know how much of that he wants with and how much of that he wants without bonuses. Now that we know our contracts are so bonus incentivized at the club, we don't, because it makes a big difference if you're asking for base 200k or more than 200k, or if you're asking for with all the add-ons. That with all the add-ons, if you meet all your bonus, numbers, then give him 250k. I don't care, because if he meets those numbers, then he's doing well anyway. And if he doesn't, give him a low wage. So I'm happy. I
think the contract length's also a part to play in it too.
Potentially.
I've heard that as well.
I hadn't actually heard that one, but no, it's fair. Could be.
Exactly.
Price, what about you? Exactly. Do you reckon he will eventually sign that contract?
I don't actually know, to be honest. I mean, my gut instinct says yeah, because obviously he's been here so long and he's an academy graduate. But Todd Bowley and Badad Iqbali, they seem like very, I don't know, like they don't seem afraid to lose players. Like they seem quite ruthless. So I hope they don't just give in and, give him what he wants. I don't believe they will, So I don't know. I read in the article that he wants to be one of Chelsea's highest earners. I mean, our highest earners are like nearly on 300k a week. So again, how much is that his base fee? I feel like he wants a very high base fee because otherwise he probably would have signed it already. I don't believe that Chelsea haven't offered him something like you said, like can go up to like 200k with incentivized objectives. So I don't believe that Chelsea wouldn't have offered him that already. Like I think they have. So yeah, I feel like he wants a ridiculously high base wage, and this whole wants to be valued thing. Oh my god, don't piss me off, seriously. Oh my.
How about you play with some value?
Yeah,
bro, that'll be nice.
That's where the agenda side of me comes out, because that just pisses me off, that stuff.
Yeah. I'm not sure in terms of what we've offered him or not, because in January, they definitely didn't offer him anything because they were clearly busy enough with signing players. Then before January, basically, we had the World Cup until straight before before the January window. So I think any serious offers would have been before the World Cup. So I'm not even sure if any actual offer has been made that he's declined or when that last one was. But who knows? I do kind of agree with Adashi. But
Robinson Camby, sorry, in the chat, I have to answer this. Mount has 2 through balls in 20 games. Cover has 6 in 14. Hope this helps, mate.
I replied that to you, though, didn't I? I'm not sure if you saw it, but that's it's 6, bro. That's like saying
Mount has 2. Mount has 2.
One of you's got a D and one of you's got an F, and you're like, I'm better than my brother. Yeah, but you still
Mount
only
has-
got a fucking D.
Mount has 2. That's not even
Mount
an
has
F.
2,
That's a
and he's
U.
the star boy. He's the
But
star
those two
boy
are
of
two
Chelsea.
different conversations, though.
No,
Kovacic,
but this is
because
the thing.
Mount
Like
is
he
bad,
said, a
doesn't-
Kova scan, like criticizing Kova compared to Mount would even be justified.
and Kovacic, the dribbler, the useless dribbler, the useless guy, has 6 through balls. Mount has 2, even though he's played 20 games.
Yeah. But
Matt,
again,
he spoke
how
like
do you-
Kovacic is worse than Mount. Like, what are we
These
doing here?
people do my head in, honestly. They
while
do
I
my-
agree, Mount being bad doesn't mean Kova is good. Both can be bad. That is possible.
That is not. No, that's not the case. Kova's a very good player.
No, yeah, no, I agree. But 6 through balls isn't enough anyway. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I
Mount
don't
has
think
to be
Kova's
up.
had a great season. Like, that's a fair judgment to make. But like, as a
This
player,
is Kovacic. Kovacic has hardly played this season, and he's still more creative than Mr. Mason Mount. How hilarious is
viable,
that?
that.
Okay, yeah, no, but you can't. Not every through ball is automatically creative. It's not quite as simple as that. But
It's better that at least we see some than nothing. Like, Mount doesn't even give us that. He misses
no,
most of them.
Mount just does nothing at the moment. Mount, to be honest, isn't even good enough to sit on the bench, quite frankly. So, if
meanwhile, we're doing this whole joke thing about his contract. Like, most people play themselves into getting a contract. They bring in their best form for a contract. He's bringing his worst form of his career. We're expected to be patient. No, guy's crap. He's probably our worst player this season. It's that bad. Our worst player.
Up there for sure.
I don't know who's worse. I criticize Havertz so much this season. I don't even think he's been as bad as Mount has been.
Aspie has been worse than Mount.
Yeah. To be fair, but Aspie, you understand that guy's like first.
Aspie's old. Aspie obviously has that benefit.
Mount's meant to be the centerpiece of our squad.
Yeah. Mendy has been way worse than Mount. But obviously, he hasn't played in a long time, to be fair to him. So
that's why he falls under the radar, though. Mount starts, but that's on Potter.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. Well, I mean, obviously, Potter clearly is going picking Kepa anyway. But had Tuchel stayed, Mendy would have been in the similar situation to Mount, probably, where he plays every game, even though he's awful. So who knows? But yeah, I wanted to bring this one up because I found it quite interesting. Emma Hayes, obviously, by the way, big up to the Chelsea ladies yesterday, winning 7-0 against West Ham. The men's team are going to have quite a struggle of repeating that one. Also, what I wanted to say and forgot to say so far, I do want to give out all my condolences to everyone affected by everything that's happened in Turkey and Syria, because it's just absolutely diabolical. Also, Christian Atsu, there was the fake news going around that he was found. Seemingly, that, like I said, it was fake news. So obviously, it's looking worse and worse, which is terrible. But yeah, we can only hope and pray that maybe a miracle happens and he is still found. But that doesn't. If he does, that still doesn't take away from all the thousands over thousands of deaths that have already occurred. So, yeah. Awful, absolutely terrible. But yeah, from Emma Hayes here, which I found, very nice to read. I'm not sure if she's slightly exaggerated because it's like, oh, look at the new owners. I want them to like me, and investing under floor heating at what's it called, Kings Meadow. But yeah, she says, and we have 2 slightly different quotes. That's why I'm showing both on the screen. From Pice, I had lunch with Graham, Todd, and Bedad the other day. It's a family here. It's more of a family than it's ever been, I would say. Emma Hayes, we have to be excited about the new era. And I know from our owners, they're doing the best in a short space of time to help us go to the next place. We had a great lunch the other day, all 4 of us. It was really warm, lovely environment, and a lovely lunch. What do we think about the whole situation in general at the moment? Oh, I don't know why Pice has left. I'm sure we'll be back in a second. What do you think about this situation at the moment, Lewis, where obviously there's certain people that are like Potter out, certain people that are on the fence, certain people that are fully backing it. I was talking to people today, and for me, it's a simple thing where I'm like, okay, we now have a manager in Potter who is very much known to be really good at developing young players. And seemingly our strategy at the moment is also signing young players. So having Graham Potter oversee the transition that we're going through in terms of him being the manager in charge while the club is changing from Roman to fully being on the way it works under Todd and Ekbali. But also having a manager that's going to oversee getting all these new young players in, slightly improving them, blah, blah, blah. And then you see where you are by the end of this season, maybe throughout next season, you see, okay, where are we? If Potter has also turned out to bring results by then, great. Stick with him, see how far we can get. And if he hasn't, then at least he would have overseen the transition. At least we would have signed because he has some great talent ID. Compare it to the flipping clowns we signed in the Tuchel last summer. Do you know what I mean? Or the clown we signed in the Tuchel the summer before. Even if that wasn't purely Tuchel's choice, I'm very aware. But still. And he didn't want young players. Like that's also part of the issue. Tuchel didn't want to sign young players. Tuchel wanted the players he requires to be successful straight away, which is understandable because he's a manager. It's like, I want to win straight away. Potter came in as the project manager. We're going to build us to being able to win, right? We're not going to just be that right now. We're going to become that. Obviously, hopefully quicker than, the quicker the better, obviously. But
yeah.
If we then see by the end of it, okay, Potter hasn't done it, but at least he's overseen the transition and he's made some players better, then we can still go out and get ourselves a top manager. Maybe Pep Guardiola once City have been relegated. And then absolutely laugh away to the bank. And at least we wouldn't have wasted another so-called top manager for the transitional period. Because this current transitional period, no matter who the manager would be, wouldn't be super successful. Whether it's Tuchel, whether it's Klopp, whether it's flipping Carlo Ancelotti or Zinedine Zidane himself. We wouldn't currently, this season, we wouldn't be winning the Premier League. We wouldn't most likely be winning the Champions League. No matter who the manager is. Yes, we might be better than under Potter. I'm not disagreeing with that. But we wouldn't be winning anything anyway. So at least we're not wasting another option of a manager because we've wasted too many. We're sacking them every 18 months for the last 15 years, 20 years. Just see with Potter. Let him finish the transition. Once we're done with the transition, is he good enough? No. Get rid of him. Is he good enough? Yes. Keep him. But for now, just let him oversee the transition. Basically what Sarri was supposed to do in 2019, going from being park the bus merchants under Conte, give it to Sarri. Just Sarri was way better at it than Potter, unfortunately, for us now. But if Sarri was basically that guy, the problem is then we got hit with a transfer ban and started the whole thing again with Lampard and it made it worse. But do you not see it that way, Lewis, where it's a case of just wait until transition's done and then we can see if he's good enough, great. If he's not, we then get a top manager. It's pointless to do it now, in my opinion.
Yeah, until the end of the season, well, starting next season, I don't think I'm really going to seriously get into this Potter discussion. I'm going to back him throughout that. Well, not back him, but I'm not really going to scream Potter out. I'll criticize him where I see fit. Maybe if he really makes that much amount of fuck-ups, I might be Potter out, but I'd have to see a lot to do that. But yeah, I think Potter's going to get till next season anyway, so I want to see what he's like once the squad is fully set out. We've done 2 years worth of work in one window. We're going to have another window coming up. If we're still playing like crap next season, then we need to get rid of him, 100%. As of now, though, I'm still asking questions. Like that West Ham lineup is going to say a lot to me because I need to see who starts. I need to see him make the necessary rotations, but I think this whole Potter in and out thing is just pointless because the team's in transition anyway. If we sacked him and brought in another manager, nothing would change. See where we are at the end of the season. See how the team has developed. See where there's been any improvements. If we've literally gone backwards from now till the end of the season, maybe it is worth discussing. As of right now, I think it's still too early to tell.
Exactly. I do have to disagree with this super chat by L9. I appreciate the super chat, but I have to disagree with your opinion. Transition, in my opinion, is not nearly done at all. A transition isn't just buying players. A transition, especially if you buy them over a very short period of time, then part of the transition period is also making them gel together. And making them gel together usually needs a preseason. Even if we still have 3 months of the season left to go, to really gel, you realistically need a preseason. Realistically. So transition is not done. Transition is not even done in the summer. But we're getting closer to it, absolutely. Pies, what is your, do you agree with kind of like what I've basically been saying? Just let him do the transition and then we can see. If we think he's not good enough, we change him. If we think he is, we keep with him. But there's no point changing him now because what is the point? And sorry, before I let you answer this, yes, do you people actually think that our squad, until we just signed some players, was good enough to win things? With the injuries we had? Yes, irrespective of the coach, we would not be winning things. With Reece James injured, Ben Chilwell injured, N'Golo Kante injured, Mateo Kovacic injured, and no striker in the team. Yes, no manager would win. I don't understand what people talk themselves into, us being this team that just wins no matter how shit our team is. This is not reality. This is not how life works. We don't just win when our squad is nowhere near good enough to win. and our squad wasn't anywhere near good enough to win, especially with 10 injuries on top. No flipping matter who the manager is, man. I don't understand why people talk of it that way. But Pice, what is your thoughts? Just let him see out the transition and see after, or would you be more harsh or more pull the trigger happy to maybe even pull the trigger before the transition is maybe fully complete?
It's a difficult one for me. It's you know, I did a piece the other day for my website, and I was thinking about it, and I thought, like, how do I word this? And I think the best way is just to, like, say what you truly want as a fan. Because for me, even if the results aren't there, like, say we lost 3-2 tomorrow, but if we played really, really good football and he showed some balls with dropping the underperforming players, that's okay, man. I'll be disappointed we lost, but at least there's positives to take from that. But if we're going week on week and game on game where there's no improvements, he's still picking the same players that are underperforming and over trusting them. I can't defend that. And at that point, you think, well, I just don't trust or back Potter. But then even that is kind of like, okay, that's your position of the fan. But overall, it's not really that relevant because the people that are going to make the decisions are Todd Bowley and Bedadig Barley. So, we can have our positions as a fan, but I just think we need to look at, I talk about like a tick box so much. Like, there's certain things I want to see from Potter, and if they're ticked and if they're like consistent, then fine, I'll back him. If they're not, then I'm obviously going to have my concerns. This whole thing about like Potter in or out, again, it's irrelevant. We don't make the decisions. Like, you can be Potter in or out, but like, first off, try and explain yourself as to why you're that. Like, if you're just Potter out after tomorrow, then it's just stupid because, you as much as we'll be disappointed after tomorrow, we'll be thinking about Dortmund the day later. So, like, you just think about it. Like, think about, like, is this manager for me as a fan long-term worth backing? Try and think about the context behind it. And, I personally got very annoyed with him over some of his quotes. I still do. I still don't like some of the stuff he says as a Chelsea manager. Like, even today, he was like, people need to understand the situation and the context. Like, mate, you've got fucking, like, Enzo Fernandez, Mudryk, Felix.
Okay, he's had him for one game, though. So
yeah, but you've still got these players, so don't give me that anymore. Like, you need to put in a...
But he still doesn't have a midfield, though, does he? But he has to pick between Lewis Hall, Loftus-Cheek and Gallagher to play next to him.
Okay, so you look at... But my point is, like, this is the thing. I don't know. I feel like people at the same time, whenever Potter gets questioned, it's like, oh, but this, and this. Like, there's no point over defending him, in my opinion. Like, I still think you've got to be critical of him. Like, if he can't get goals, like two goals a game at least out of this attack, like, you're just not good enough for a Chelsea manager. Like, this attack is ridiculous, man. There's so much talent. Like, and the owners will be looking at, no matter what you say, like, the owners. You saw Todd Bowley's reaction during the Fulham game. Like, bro, they're going to expect a lot of things. They may feed through to the media that, this is a project and all that. But I don't know, man. Give it 15 games. If we're still not getting, results and we're not actually getting good football and goals out of this attack, knowing how much they've invested, they ain't going to be happy no matter what they try and feed to the media. So, is what it is, isn't it? That's what I think of it anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. And hey, if by the end of the season things have not improved at all, I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't even go that far. Like, I still wouldn't sack him in the middle of the season because I would still find that somewhat pointless. But if things aren't better by April, the very latest, like, then you have to ask serious questions. And you're like, yeah, you might be all nice and that, and long term it might work, but you're at Chelsea. You can't take 2 years to be successful. That's too long, man. Like, that's also then not good enough. Like, if you take 2 years to be good, then you're not that good. You're not, quite simply.
It worries me as well. It worries me as well how he talks about, I can't give you a time frame on when it will improve. Like, what are you on about? Like,
but which manager gives you a time frame on that question, though? I've never seen one. Have you ever seen a manager say, "Oh yeah, in 3 months we'll be amazing"?
Well, he doesn't have to say amazing, but he could say, "Well, in 3 months we're going to definitely see improvements." Why can't he say that? Because that's
no, I don't disagree. He should say that instead. I agree.
He just needs to sound a lot more confident in himself. Because
Yeah,
he's got to
he's
be the one that
just so,
instills
like-
it in us.
Yeah. You're right. He doesn't instill any confidence into the fan base.
And
That's all.
that's half the reason why we're all just so depressed with thinking this. Whatever, I don't care. I'm at 40 points mode, literally just because of that.
Yeah, that is true.
10 points.
We haven't won an away game since October. Now, obviously, there was the World Cup in between, which obviously makes this
I go back to
a
it again.
lot worse than in a normal season. But still, we haven't won an away game since October. That's mental. Do you know what I mean?
I'll say this. I was reading, Leeds, they drew with Man U at home the other night. Man U drew at home to Leeds.
Yeah.
And I read the first thing Eric Ten Hag, or one of the first things he said was, I read a quote from one of the accounts. One of the first things he said was like, "I'm so angry with my team's performance. I want to play them again right now. I wish we could play them tomorrow, but we have to wait until the weekend." Like that for me, like what a fucking manager, man. Like what a mentality. Like Potter would be like, "Oh, we tried. West Ham are good."
But Man United are also in a squad-wise different position to us.
Proud of the boys, but Laurenz, it's about the mentality and how.
No, I agree. But your
talk about
mentality has to somewhat be adjusted to what's currently realistic. Because if you're there, okay, I want to win the Premier League this season, and if we don't,
No,
No,
that's not what I'm talking about at all.
I'm exaggerating it, but if
I'm
you
talking
were
about
that
when we-
extreme, well, that would be equally as stupid, right?
When we
That's
drop
what I'm
points, he's just like, "Oh, it's a part of the process."
Yeah, I agree. That pisses me off
What?
too. Yeah, I agree.
Like, I just don't understand. And by the way, I feel like people are massively like overdoing this whole like situation we're in thing. Like, if you look at our team, Kante back and Reece James, and even not Kante, like even Zakaria or someone to side up the midfield, like our team's really good on paper, man. People
Now,
don't
yes, not before January.
Sure, but okay then. So if you think that now, then you should be in the same position as me.
Yeah, no, I am to some extent. I am. I'm not too far away from what you're saying. Absolutely. Yeah. No.
Basically, I just don't want to hear the whole like process thing after we drop points anymore. It's just boring me.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Like, shut up about it. Like, keep it
Stop
just
for points. I don't care. We might be in a process. That doesn't mean you can't win. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, and
Each individual game, not as a trophy, but yeah.
Yeah, each individual game. Like,
Yeah. No, I agree. All right. This last super chat before we round this one out. Tucheliban says, "Can't Emma Hayes manage the team? I swear she has more balls than Potter. She might not have more balls, but the thing about it, no. The poor women's team, why should they have to suffer from the men's team's incapabilities and lose their incredible manager? Absolutely not. Leave Emma Hayes with the women's team, at least until they win the Women's Champions League. After that, maybe we can talk about it. But not before that. That's for damn sure. All right, boys. Let's round it out with one last question. Score predictions. Lewis, what are you going to go with? Away at West Ham, we don't usually win there, do we? So, and it's an early kickoff. It doesn't get worse than this for our, chances.
I'm going to pretend it's a lineup that we all want, so I'm going to be optimistic and say 2-0 Chelsea. If it's a lineup that I think we're going to get, 1-0 West Ham.
Fuck's sake. 1-0 West Ham, but we keep clean sheets, bro.
Yeah, we don't like going to the London Stadium.
That's true. It's true. But we don't have Alonso this time, so that helps. But, Pice.
Cucurella starts. What's the difference?
True.
Oh, boy.
Pice, what do you reckon? Score prediction?
My head says like 2-1 West Ham. My heart says 2-1 Chelsea, actually. I don't think there'll be many goals.
Okay. I'm going to say we're winning, but I'm going to say 1-0. I think we keep another clean sheet. I would love to say more, but at the moment, I'll be happy if we score one goal, to be honest. Can't say you're expecting 2 or 3 at this point. But yeah, hey, just get the 3 points. That's what matters. Let's take a step. And then hopefully we can, we go outside of the English Super League and, we have some fun in Dortmund. And then we kick on from there, hopefully, in an ideal world. But ladies and gentlemen, still over 300 if you're watching. I appreciate you all. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. If you haven't already, we're on the road to 20,000 subscribers. Every new subscriber counts, so please do hit that big red subscribe button. If you want to become a member, by the way, it's a join button right next to the subscribe button if you're on your desktop, or a link just down in the description. If you're on your phone, become a member. You get a nice little icon next to your name in the chat, and your messages are highlighted without you super chatting, which makes it easier for me to actually read the messages and we talk about your questions and statements and whatever else. So if you fancy that, do that and smash the like button on your way out. How many likes have we got so far? Definitely not enough. 111. To be fair, you've not done too bad, but let's get to 150 instantly. On your way out, just one click of a button that doesn't cost you any money or any time. I'd massively appreciate it. Please do also subscribe to Lewis's channel, Carefree Lewis G. Link is as always, of course, down in the description below. And obviously, check out Pulse's website, chelseafc365.com, for all your latest Chelsea news in written format. You can't always listen to everything, so sometimes you want to read something, check out Pulse's website. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards. Let's hope we can get the win tomorrow, and we'll see you next time.